Okay. I guess we'll proceed, call the meeting to order. Under the March 12th, what was it, March 12th, 2020 order regarding open meeting law, participation in the public hearing and public comment will be available through Zoom webinar. You must register in advance in order to participate at the meeting. And use your link and put your hand in, and however that works with staff will recognize you. So I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So
Actually,
moved.
let me, before we go there, let me just go through, we'll have a roll call vote for everyone that's present. Mary Longacre,
Good evening.
Dave Iverson,
Here.
John Trudell,
Here.
Wendy,
Here.
Jack Gardner,
Yeah.
Bert Johnson.
Here.
Is Fritz on, Megan, now? He'll be on. He'll be on. Maureen's not on yet. Matt Fee
Here.
and Barry Rector.
Present.
Okay. And we'll recognize them when they come on. So I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Fritz is not in. Maureen's not on yet. Matt
Aye.
and Barry.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. Minutes of September 20th.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yep.
I just want for slight correction, looks like the chair opened the meeting at 6:05 PM. I believe it was called for 5 PM. And in the roll call, there were three notable times with Bert, myself, and Jack Gardner with times of 5:12 and 5:15. I think the meeting should have been called to order at 5:05 PM, just for
Right.
correction.
Yeah. 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 And we don't have the November minutes. We're going to have to postpone them, but just saying that ahead of time. So with those corrections.
I have one more
Megan?
little one. I have one funny one. I noticed
Okay.
wanna comment was spelled wanna comment. And I thought that might be a good new name for our public hearing. Wanna comment? in the
Boy.
future.
There you go. That's good, Mindy. I like that.
I liked it too.
I got to get one of those doormats. I want to comment doormats. I saw one today. I got to get one of those. So with those corrections,
Move to approve with those corrections, Mr. Chair.
yeah, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Matt. Matt wasn't here then.
Yep.
For those.
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Yeah, sorry about that. And Barry?
For the record, I recused since I wasn't
Oh,
there.
you weren't here either, of course. Oh my God. And so chair votes aye. Sorry about that. So we'll just continue the November 18th minutes, Megan, to the next meeting. I just want to make a quick comment before we get to the next thing is Judith, we have not had a planning commission meeting since Judith passed. I just got that confirmed earlier, which I had forgotten because of the timing of that and our last meeting. It's not like planning board where we sort of know every minute that we're at planning board meetings, but I just confirmed that Judith was not here. We haven't had a meeting since Judith passed, and I just want to, just recognize her at this at this commission, as well as we obviously already did at planning. And, you know, we all miss Judith. I certainly miss Judith and our conversations, and you know, I just wanted to recognize her at this board as well. Does anyone else have anything to say? Be open to anybody's comment that hasn't yet spoken previously. Anyway, I just wanted to just recognize her at this venue. So, public comments on anything that is not on the agenda. Anyone have anything, Megan? I don't know who's on, so otherwise we'll continue.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. The next item is the tip amendment, the 21-day public comment. Andrew, do you want to just brief us just quickly again on this?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So during this time, I have received no public comment on this particular matter. So beyond that, I believe Eric will have to sort of help us out on what our next steps and votes should be.
Yeah, happy to do so. Just as a quick refresh, so this was released for public comment and is now to be endorsed. Is that correct? So this has gone through a public comment period. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sounds good. So when there's any federal funding involved for any transportation project, it's required to be amended onto the State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP. This is a project that's kind of outside of what we call the regional target funds. So it's funding that's provided by the Federal Highway Administration as part of funding source called ferry boat discretionary. So they make it available to specific entities, including the Steamship Authority, for which I think this project is programmed. We have it programmed as $2 million in fiscal year 2022. So a vote today would just allow the MassDOT to proceed with including that in our action that we would send to the Federal Highway Administration, just notifying them that this board approves of that funding being programmed on the Nantucket tip. And then we would process that as part of our next STIP action. So the funding would then be available probably in kind of mid to late February for the Steamship Authority to then use for the project. So that's the process. I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, John.
Derek, just a question for the funding. I know the estimated is $2 million. Are we to make or potentially make a motion to approve the $2 million estimation, or the 1.6 million 300 or 1,639,763 to be more precise?
So I think the motion would kind of include all funding. It's the 1.6 is the federal portion, it's 80% of the total cost. And I believe this one has a match that would be contributed by the Steamship Authority, depending on how it's been done in the past. But yeah, I believe the vote today would endorse kind of the entire amount to be spent on the project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone
Mr.
else have any questions?
Yeah, oh, no,
Go ahead, Mary.
Maureen joined at 5:13 for the record.
Oh, Maureen's on now? Okay, sorry. Is Fritz on yet? Where is he? Not on? Okay. He might have had some problems with his computer stuff.
So here I am.
Yes, Maureen, hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so if there's no more further comment, accept a
I see,
motion to,
Okay. I think I see a hand raised.
Barry's hand is raised.
I think Barry's thing is permanently pressed, I think.
No,
No?
You make a motion.
It seems
funny.
to be up all the time, Barry. Is that Campbell's block?
I think you better get a new pair of glasses at this point. Your vision's a little off, son.
I leave these
All I was going
glasses
to
up
do was
here where
make
I
a
have this
motion
meeting.
instead of being toyed with here. But anyways, the motion would be to close the public comment phase on this, because I think
Okay,
that's
is
the
there-
first thing you have to do.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Okay, Barry, we'll make the next motion.
Sure. Hold on. Megan's got her hand up.
No, just for the record, Fritz just logged on, 5:16.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you, Megan.
All right.
We have
So,
all of them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion at this point that we endorse the tip as we have discussed at this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and Barry.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Derek, thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next, are you staying on? Or did you ask for this to be, well, it was already first anyway. Did you ask for this first for a reason, or are you staying on for the meeting?
We did ask for it first.
Okay.
I have until about 5:30, so I'll stick around for a little bit.
Oh, okay,
but
I got
yeah.
it. All right, great.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Thank you. Yep.
All right, thank you. So the next item is, this is not a public hearing. This is a discussion on this topic of this fertilizer issue with the planning commission in 2012 and all this confusing information that is going to get clarified tonight. And we're going to try to keep this, you know, in sort of a very precise forum. And I would encourage any board member, commissioner that has any questions during any part of the discussion to be able to sort of, you know, jump in and ask a question if it comes to mind, because this is complicated. And there's going to be some questions. So, so with that, I will turn it over to Andrew to begin this discussion. And we have John on, and we have, I don't know who else is on from any other department. So with that, Andrew.
Thank you,
Are you
Mr. Chairman.
there?
I think I'm going to ask John to, if you wouldn't mind, to review.
Yep.
He's done a detailed opinion on this, and it's certainly the same opinion that we're well aware of, that has been discussed at least in 2016 and at least in 2019. And I'm going to let him go ahead and review his opinion, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Chair. So this is a bit of a complicated issue, but I think if you review the opinion that I provided to the select board, I don't know, Andrew, was that in the packet for the board's meeting?
Believe it was, or they at least, they definitely have it, so.
Okay, and also I would point out that the Attorney General issued a very comprehensive, detailed decision in the case of the town of Falmouth that was seeking to enact more stringent fertilizer regulation, and the Attorney General disapproved the bylaw based upon Chapter 262 of the Acts of 2012. Essentially, there are two situations, actually three, where the town can enforce more stringent fertilizer regulations that is more stringent than what is currently provided by the Department of Agriculture. The first circumstance would be if the bylaw was in effect, or the regulation was in effect on July 1st, 2012. That bylaw continues to be enforceable as it essentially was grandfathered. The second circumstance where a town may have a more stringent fertilizer regulation is a situation where a regional planning commission, which of course in this case is you all, can recommend a more stringent regulation, and then it can be adopted by the Board of Health, as long as your recommendation is in conjunction with the University of Massachusetts Amherst extension. So you would have to develop your recommendation in conjunction with that state agency. And if you do make that recommendation, then the town can proceed to enact a more stringent regulation. The third option is the one that is currently on the warrant for this upcoming town meeting. It's a petitioned article for a home rule petition that would essentially ban the application of fertilizers island-wide. And this is somewhat similar to a home rule petition that was authorized under Article 77 of the 2012 annual town meeting. That was submitted to the legislature, and no action has been taken with respect to that 2012 vote by town meeting. So if the article that's on this warrant is approved, I assume it will be submitted in due course to the general court for consideration. So that's essentially the regulatory framework for fertilizer regulation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Can I just, one quick thing, John, the last part, what you just said, when the term to, home rule petition keeps getting brought up, that's the article that is being referred to, that's the article that's been brought forth this year, correct?
Yes,
That's what
correct.
that's
And a
referring
home-
to.
Yes, and a
Okay.
home rule petition is a request that the general court enact a special law that would apply only to
Right.
Nantucket.
Okay, so when you talk about the Falmouth case, which I read twice, that was rejected by the Attorney General because their article came in after July 1st of 2012, correct?
That's correct. And it was not enacted upon recommendation of the Regional Planning Commission, which I believe is the Cape Cod Commission, if I'm not
Cape Cod.
mistaken.
Right,
And
yes,
I don't know the background on that, Matt, but the Attorney General essentially said that that second process would be the only, well, other than a home rule petition, would be the only way that a more stringent bylaw or regulation could be adopted. The Cape Cod Commission would have to make that recommendation to the town in conjunction with the state Amherst Extension Agency.
okay. And I think that is a really important sort of roadmap of all this, is this home rule keeps getting thrown around, but that's really referring to this article that's before us now, this year. And I just, reading Falmouth, sort of, even though it was 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, it's kind of the same situation that they took the situation where they said, well, you already have the ability to do this. This is not necessary. So,
Well,
okay. So that's good. That's important to separate all this stuff.
well, to
So-
be clear, Matt, Nat, to be clear, the Attorney General disapproved the Falmouth bylaw because they did not follow the
Right.
process in 262.
Right, that's what I meant. Yes. Right.
Okay.
That's how I read it, and that's how I understood what you said. Okay, so
Mr.
does
Chairman,
anyone
can I
have
ask a
any?
question?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I just wanted
Go
John
ahead,
to
Andrew.
comment on the Board of Health regulations regarding fertilizer that I believe were adopted prior to the deadline and I believe are fully enforceable now.
That's correct. That's correct. The Board of Health regulations took effect on January 1st, 2013. And then the state law was amended, allowing towns to enact fertilizer regulations up until July 1st, 2013. Thereafter, it would require a recommendation from the local planning agency. So the current Board of Health regulations are in full force and effect. They're in essence grandfathered.
I have one follow-up question if I could.
Go ahead.
So, John, I think over the years, it's fair to say that there were different attorneys in your firm working on some sort of draft updates to the regulations. I think,
Yes,
or I'm sorry, I forget his first name, but Corbo.
Craig Corbo, and I think Alex Weisheit has as well.
Right, which I learned that they had through the email, some of the emails that were submitted were at least presented to the Board of Health at some point. Know whatever happened to those regulations? Okay, so they were, because I was not included on that particular email or in the development of those bylaws. So at some point, I believe after consulting with Roberto that there was some sort of a fertilizer work group that met, I think, until 2019. I don't know if they met afterwards, but as far as you know, those regulations didn't advance further. I noticed in the emails that were submitted that it was made clear to the Board of Health Director that those would have to come to the Planning Commission at some point. So it's not necessary for the Planning Commission to develop the regulations itself. If somebody else has done the regulations and we find them acceptable, we could certainly incorporate those. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So the statute requires the commission to enact a comprehensive plan for further regulation of fertilizer. But the nuts and bolts of the regulations themselves would then be adopted, presumably by the Board of Health.
Right. So if the Board of Health and the other entity, which was the Natural Resources Department, Conservation Commission, had finalized those rules and they were submitted to us, we could basically turn that into a comprehensive plan, or regarding fertilizers. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, the three hands that are up, I didn't see which one popped up first, so I apologize.
Matt,
Matt, okay. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm number 2, doing the
And
regulation.
Matt, welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much, Nat. Nice to be here. Number 2 is doing it through the NPDC and UMass Field Station. Sounds like a very good plan to me. Makes a lot of sense. I think it makes more sense possibly than a home rule petition. I don't think we're going to have much luck with that in Boston. We didn't last time. the question I have for John, I think, is when it says we can enact, regulations or rules or enforce different things, what type of powers, the devil's in the details, what type of powers can we enact? Is there a limit on that? How is that determined?
Well, that's not specified, Matt, in the statute. It has to be a comprehensive plan. I do think you need to be cautious here, however, because that home rule petition would ban the application of fertilizers, period, island-wide. So I don't think that's the kind of approach that is going to get much traction and would certainly subject, I think, the town to a legal challenge. It has to be a thought out, fact-based plan developed in conjunction with the extension. And that certainly would be what I would recommend would be the way to proceed. Now, that fertilizer work group might be the right tool for that. I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of devil in the detail, as you say, Matt.
And just to follow up, I think that group, I've heard rumors that they're planning to meet again soon after this kind of surfaced, and then I think that would be a good thing. And I'm not sure that the ban is necessary, but something is necessary. If any of you have seen the pictures that Chris Fuller has circulated of what's going on in the harbor, it's pretty scary and sort of where we thought we'd be worst case 10 years ago. So I think something like this, I think time is of the essence for us to get this in place and try to do it. And I'm not sure how to deal with this, but one of the things we need help with, John, is whenever we talk about fertilizer regulation, we're always told by staff that, oh, but we can't go on private property and we can't do this and we can't do that. So we have to do something that, the regulations have to allow us to go to get logs from the companies, to do something to be able to monitor. So however we do it has to have teeth in it. Otherwise otherwise we're going to be told it can't be done again. And that's kind of what's happened with the regulations we have now. Some of the companies are really following it and really trying, and some others aren't. And we get mixed reviews, and there's not much we can do, is what kind of comes out when it's been brought up over the last few years. So thank you and I'm glad we're talking about this and hope we can find a way forward.
Dave or Maureen, who was next, Dave?
I think I was, but Maureen's welcome to go if she'd like.
Okay.
Okay, so John, just to clarify, so can the Board of Health currently amend the fertilizer bylaw, I guess, without the NP and EDC, or does the NP and EDC need to be involved in any change to the fertilizer bylaws at the moment?
If those changes are going to be more restrictive than what the state allows, then you have to be involved in that process.
Okay, all right.
Because of the July 1st thing, right, John?
Correct.
And then I just urge us to move forward with fact-based data and not just the feeling that the and I'm not saying that it's not reality, but I just I would really like a lot of data before we really move forward on something like that. Thanks.
Maureen?
Thank you, Nat. And the point you just made, Dave, is an important one. But the town has, through various groups that have worked on harbor plans and water quality, things that as a member of the Concom, that we've been aware of, the nitrogen loading in various harbors, obviously the main harbor and Nantucket harbor. So there is a great deal of science. We don't have to go back, to the ground zero. And I think that what is most important here is it sounds like everyone understands that the home rule petition route is not, we all know it's lengthy and difficult and uncertain. And using our ability, which the legislature specifically gave to us, along with the Cape Cod Commission and Martha's Vineyard, that we could deal with fertilizer and nutrient application on the island. So that I'm hoping that everyone is on board with that concept. And then lastly, that we do move as quickly as we can. I do think that the fertilizer working group is actually meeting tomorrow. Jeff Carlson mentioned that to me. We just finished a Concom meeting. And and he said it's very exciting to see it going again. And I think that group is well aware of all the science that's available so that we can, put together good enforceable regulations. How we do it, as Matt said, is, the devil is in the details, because we could do something, we just need to be willing to, consider all options. And, an outright ban of any kind of fertilizer anywhere, that's not going to work. But looking at the areas where fertilizer is really necessary, and where it is currently being used for aesthetic purposes, I think those are the things that we really need to look at, because all of that goes into the water table. It goes into it's joined by the pollution, unfortunately, that the solid waste facility puts into the water table. So I think I would heartily encourage us to exhort the fertilizer working group to use the data that we have, and if they need to gather more, fine, but get a recommendation as soon as possible so that we can get moving on this, because as Matt noted, this has increased hugely and exponentially over the last few years. And we need to get our arms around it and have the same enforcement ability, say that, Concom has. Natural Resources is permitted to go on private property to monitor and inspect. And that, that's the kind of enforcement ability that we need to have for this. So, so thank you.
Mary?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have two questions that perhaps John Giorgio can answer. The first is, are there examples of other planning commissions in Massachusetts implementing fertilizer regulations successfully? And the second is regarding the phrasing, part of a comprehensive plan. Is that specific to fertilizer so that we can enact a comprehensive plan just about fertilizer? Or does that mean that it has to be included in what we call our master plan, and we only have that opportunity while we're reviewing the master plan?
Mary, I don't think it's limited to your master plan. I think the way I read the statute, it's a comprehensive fertilizer plan. And I am not aware of any other communities that have gone this route.
Thank you.
So to follow up, John, on what Mary asked you, the other than the three agencies, Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket, none of the other agencies, including non-regulatory like us, have been given this kind of authority that you're aware of?
I don't know of anyone who's exercised the authority.
Okay. Good point. John Trudell, sorry, I missed that.
No worries. I guess this is just a question through you to John in reference to Matt's comment about the Board of Health. And and not being able to, or potentially being able to go on public property, causing a concern. But if this is a public health concern, what's the difference between the Board of Health going on private property when it comes to something like housing violations, where in the last Board of Health meeting, I tuned in, and there was one house that they were going into for unsafe conditions, and they were condemning it, or having a process of condemning. So if the Board of Health can do that on private property for that, why couldn't they do it for maybe a business or something that is housing fertilizer that's illegal, that causes a public health concern?
So John, I'm not aware of the specifics of what you're referring to with respect to the Board of Health, but as a general proposition, and Maureen, this would apply to the Conservation Commission as well. You can, in order to go on private property, absent some kind of an exigent circumstance, there's a fire that has to be put out, something like that, you need the permission of the landowner. And if that permission is not forthcoming, you can go to district court and obtain what's known as an administrative search warrant. I don't know whether your boards have availed themselves of that opportunity, but that certainly is an opportunity and an option. In terms of Matt's comments about obtaining records, you certainly could have a regulation that required record keeping as a condition of not just record keeping, but providing access to those records by town officials as a condition of any kind of a permit that you need to apply fertilizer.
Well, I also, John, I used to have a food establishment, and I'm sure Matt's familiar with this. When you have a license to sell food, the health department at any given time can go in and do an inspection for sanitation purposes. So if you're licensed and you're registered, and the town could go in on a spontaneous day, why couldn't they do the same with a private business, just as they would with a private business in food establishments?
Well, I think, John, the answer to that is yes. If it was part of a licensing scheme, and if you refused the permission, you could go through a process to revoke the license. So that's why people comply, obviously, if it's a condition of the license.
Okay, thank you.
Maureen, you had your hand back up.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. We at the Concom already, in our jurisdiction, which only goes around, 100 feet from, either a body water or
Resource.
Wetland. We already require that irrigation and or fertilizer is not used if it's going to be in an area where it's going to go into the water table. We have that jurisdiction. And then part of, I think, one of the best ways to be able to do this is requiring monitoring reports. I mean, that's something we do. The Board of Health does that as well. So if this winds up being in the Board of Health jurisdiction, being able to, monitor the use is I would think would be the best way to go. But the fertilizer working group, I mean, those are the kinds of things they will need to figure out what's going to make enforcement as simple as possible and as clear as possible, because obviously there are, there's lots of places where this could be, if we have a ban on fertilizer use around, drinking water sources or something like that, or a certain thing, we would need to have a good way to enforce that. And I think that's really important. Thanks.
All Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, I don't think there are, I think 6 or 8 towns in the Cape do enforce fertilizer. I think the Cape Cod Commission has a, sort of a best practices or something that they do that we should be looking into. So I don't think we have to, sort of remake the wheel. We should look at what works for them. Some of them are not, are not all that effective. So we should look at ones that are, or improving ours so that it is. That's number one. I think part of this is having the sort of the backup, having the being able to implement is supporting and having the resources available for natural resources or Board of Health to do this. I think sometimes that might be the problem we're running up against. So we have to sort of think of that. And I just want to thank Joe Manila for putting his article through, and Hillary Rayport for bringing this to everyone's attention and kind of getting the ball rolling, because I think this is something that we could achieve fairly quickly and be a very positive thing. Thank you.
Okay. Is anyone else, Megan, on there on the other side of the screen? I have a couple of points I want to bring up listening to all this. Does anyone have their hand up, Megan?
No.
Okay. So just a couple things that I've been sort of making notes and thinking about this the last week or so. John, I just want to ask you, and this is one of the issues that is sort of, the whole, if we have let's just say we had this super authority that we didn't realize we had, and we could just like ban STRs or limit them through this board without town meeting. I wouldn't be able to get out of my driveway. Okay, I might have to hire security. So this issue here doesn't need to go to town meeting, does it? If we follow the existing regulations that have already been passed, or if something comes along from the group that's more stringent than the states, we can adopt that legally without town meeting approval. Am I reading that right? Or,
Yes. You need to do it in conjunction with the UMass extension.
right, I know all that language, yes, but I'm just making a general statement that this commission technically could adopt regulation without town meeting.
You could adopt a comprehensive fertilizer plan without town meeting, and then the Board of Health could implement that plan through regulations that do not require town meeting approval.
And I just want that to sink in everyone's mind that's listening right now, okay? And everybody that knows how Nantucket operates, town meeting is the place where things happen, especially stuff like this. What Maureen said about with the Concom regulations for certain areas, I think that's an interesting point that I was actually wondering about that earlier. One thing let's talk about the exemptions, John. Farms, golf courses, I'm assuming agriculture in some fashion, whether it's, we talked about that earlier. Everybody has the right to have agriculture in every property on Nantucket legally. So I'm assuming that fertilizer would be exempt from those uses. Schools, fields, that kind of thing, right? Is all exempt?
Not unless your comprehensive plan exempts them.
Right, so so this board could technically, through the process that you've laid out, could regulate some of the current exempted uses. I think that's a big one as well. Especially with the discussion with the artificial turf that's going on right now. I
So
mean, we had, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would not, I wouldn't interpret the quote, right to agriculture. I mean, that was a discussion we had earlier at the planning
Yeah.
board meeting, and that's a matter of zoning, right? The agricultural use exemption. That does not address fertilizer, though.
No, but you know, you could 1 + 1 = 2. Everyone that has a garden usually has some sort of fertilizer, or I'm not saying everybody, but you know what I mean? Like, you would think that that use would be separate from lawns, is what I'm trying to say to you. You know, typical grass, you know, et cetera, you know?
So these are discussions for the working group and the plan if the planning commission wants to adopt something. Those are the kinds of issues you would have to grapple with, in addition to
Yep.
performance standards and so forth.
I got a couple of suggestions for everyone to think about, staff. If the fertilizer committee, I think we should be, in light of all this, I think we should get them on our next agenda. You know, whoever that would be, Mike or whoever's the person that would come on to our meeting. I think we should get, I think there's a possibility that we should have someone appointed to that committee from this board, Andrew, or a staff person to think about that. So that we can catch up on this. And, you know, they haven't met since 2019, is that correct? I think that's also important to know.
My understanding,
So
yes.
they haven't met. And that's quite a while. So obviously, with all this discussion, there's going to be a scrambling to kind of get back into, you know, a normal meetings and updates and stuff. So I think that, you know, either a staff person or someone from, you know, I know we can't officially do that yet, but I think we should consider that. Getting an update from them or something like that at the next meeting, Andrew. Does that make sense? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Nat, if I can offer a suggestion, I would suggest
Go ahead, Mary.
invite the UMass Extension to send a representative at the same time so that we have a better idea of what they would consider acceptable.
And what would that be? Somebody from somewhere that just zoom in, like an attendee type of thing? They're not
Right.
here, right?
Right.
Okay. We can track down who that is, or, you know, that would make sense. Barry, I don't know if you were next or Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll go.
Go
Let's go to Dave.
Okay, thank you, Barry. I mean, I just want to kind of just wrap my head about what this looks like, or what we're hoping this looks like going forward. So we would look at the fertilizer work group. They would get together with the UMass Field Station and then come to us with a program that we would be they would look for us to give the nod to. Is that kind of what I'm understanding here?
I think we're a ways away from that.
No, but I know,
think
but that's the general
yeah.
framework.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, can I respond to that, please?
Yep.
So the answer to that is yes. And I want the commission to know that my message to Roberto and to Jeff Carlson, who are the staff members working on the regulations, that we are here to help. And it always has been that once those regulations get past their work group, get them to us and we will work to get them implemented. So I think there's been a false narrative for one purpose or another out there that somehow this was secret or wasn't known. And this has been well known for the decades that it's been passed. What I haven't been made aware of is where the regulations are. Is there agreement coming out of this fertilizer work group? And you just heard they had their first meeting recently after like a 2+ year hiatus. So, you know, the idea would be that, yes, we would get some sort of rules and regulations. We would have the field station or the UMass group sort of say, yes, these are within our purview. This is something that is, you know, doable and we would support. And then we would basically take actions to approve it that would meet this, you know, comprehensive plan idea, which is again what our enabling legislation does. So there's nothing but cooperation ever that's been expressed on this matter from day one. And a lot of times this, you know, this matter is being overseen by town administration, by staff that has this specific expertise. We do not have a water quality division like the Cape Cod Commission. We have we have our natural resources director, we have our Board of Health, who are all more than qualified, and they would be the expertise that we would rely on. So I just wanted to make that clear, because we're discussing this because there's been some really false statements out there, and I'm glad to get it cleared up.
And to add to what Andrew said before I call on Wendy and Barry and John, you have to, you know, understand that the Planning Commission in Nantucket is not like the Cape Cod Commission. The Cape Cod Commission is this gigantic organization. I mean, people can't breathe over there without a permit. Vineyard is loaded with rules and regulations. I've talked to them guys over there, and I'll tell you, the first thing they say to me is, don't be like us. So we're not, people don't expect something of this magnitude to come out of this board. And what Andrew's saying is one of the things that I wanted to just reiterate is staying in your lane. Like, the Board of Health has their departments and they have their expertise. Jeff has his, we have town biologists, we have all sorts of things going on with water testing and people doing this stuff for their regular job. Our office is lucky to hire somebody for anything. So this is a completely different type of role than what anyone would even expect. So I think keeping this into its, you know, into reality and something that can be added into what we do through the committee of the fertilizer committee, through the Board of Health, and through Jeff is the right way to go. This is not gonna run them over and like we're all of a sudden the authority of fertilizer. I mean, and the other part of it, and I'm still going to go back to this, town meeting not having a say in regulation or changes in the existing regulation that's going to be a problem here. Okay, I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem. No one would expect that something that, you know, more than what we already have adopted would happen without some kind of public process. But with that said, I think that laying this out is to the process going forward and restarting with the committee and the focus that's been put on this is the right way to go. So with that said, Barry, Wendy, and then Maureen, but John, you put your hand back up. So do you have something first? Sorry. John, do you have something first? You're muted. Sorry.
Thank you.
About that.
I do. Matt, I just wanted to emphasize that when I said town meeting action was not necessary, that's only if you proceed to do this through a Board of Health regulation. The other option would be to adopt a general bylaw that implements the plan that the Planning Commission adopts. That would require town meeting authorization. And oftentimes, you can go either way, which would be this situation, either adopt a bylaw through town meeting or a regulation just by the Board of Health.
Yep. Yeah. And again, it was a lot easier to ban balloons than something like this. So, you know, there's a lot to be considered. Wendy, go ahead.
Are we sure Barry wasn't first? Oops.
Oh,
Okay.
Barry, okay, I'm sorry. I forgot you spoke and then you gave it to Dave and I skipped you. I didn't mean to do that. Barry, you go ahead first and then Wendy.
No, let Wendy
Sorry.
and then Maureen, I'll reserve comment till the end. That's okay, please.
Okay.
Oh, I
go
just
ahead,
wanted,
Wendy.
I was just going to kind of reiterate the point about, you know, us being, I thought it was incredibly exciting that the NPDC actually had this, you know, power, that it didn't need to be a home rule petition. I was thrilled to read those things because so often it's not the case. And I just wanted to reiterate from my perspective how excited, you know, what Andrew said, that we would absolutely love to help this for any public out there wondering. I do, you know, I guess I see both sides because I feel the need to work really fast, you know, is, you know, of the utmost. But getting the regulation right would be similar to the chain store bylaw and the process that was, where, you know, I popped up as a citizen, totally, you know, a lot of communities said the planning department, you know, Andrew wouldn't be willing to help. He totally helped. Came to town meeting one year, it wasn't right. Came back the next year, got it done, because we really need the public to buy in. And all the, you know, I remember that, was it a town meeting where we talked about this before? Yeah, in the fight. So we need the public to be very much on
CVS
board.
situation.
Yeah, but I think maybe the times have changed. People really realize what's at stake here, and those pictures absolutely show it. So I'm just excited to move forward and wanted to just put in my 2 cents. Thank you.
Maureen, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Wendy, for saying most of what I was going to say. I think it's very exciting, and that this isn't something that I think we should be, scared or concerned about. I think this is something that, as the town is more, as our fellow residents are more educated about this, about the impacts it's had and is having ever more quickly, I think there's going to be support. Also, we have had, town meeting has voted to have more fertilizer regulation. That's already been done, and unfortunately went nowhere because of needing to go to the home rule route. So I think the general approval would be there, and also this law was passed, several years ago. I mean, there was public comment available. I mean, it wasn't done, under smoking cover of night or anything like that. So it's been out there, and as Andrew said, this is this been available, and I think it's just great that we are looking at actually being able to use this really important power, because we are unique. Again, we are the only regional planning commission that represents, just one town, just one county. And this is a real benefit for us, to be able to use that to our own specific benefit, because we know best what needs to be done here on island. So thanks.
Okay, Maureen. Barry, go ahead.
Thanks. Just a few things in terms of observations. One of the things I think you have to realize is that the Fertilizer Committee, through the Board of Health, everything kind of came to a little bit of a stop in 2019, and let's put that into its perspective, because you had summer approaching, and then the Board of Health got sidetracked with something we're all dealing with today, COVID-19. No surprise that would have eclipsed anything that they were working on. So no surprises in any way, shape, or form. I have to agree with Mary that we need to get UMass involved right at the onset of things with the startup of this, because otherwise you don't want to develop a lot of work and then have UMass come in later and say, what in the name of God were you thinking? So they need to be engaged right from the onset of that process. Again, I always like to go back to that this organization, the NPDC, is advisory in nature. It is not regulatory. And that's something we always have to be focused on too. As much as we love the idea of doing regulation stuff, we can assist with it. Fine, no problem. But our nature is that we are advisory in nature. The other thing too is that no matter what happens, whether it's brought to town meeting or whether this is adopted by the NP and EDC and put into place, the public does not get lost in the process. So I don't want people to get necessarily focused on, oh, we need a town meeting, because you're going to have public hearings on this one way or another. This is just not going to fly by itself in the process. You know, to think that we would be endorsing something, a plan that was put in place without public hearing, let's be serious, you know. That has to happen still. So the public, no matter which direction we're going to take, the public will still have the opportunity to chime in and deal with that. And the last thing as well too is, you know, one of the things that you're going to have to do here in terms of a comprehensive plan, you know, everyone's going to say, oh, fertilizer, fertilizer, fertilizer. It's all about the nitrogen. And you're going to have to prove the science behind it as well too. There's a lot more to this going on than just fertilizer being applied.
Yeah.
You have to look at groundwater flow. You have to look at other sources of nitrogen coming into the system. So there's also going to be that onus that, and I'm sure this is what UMass is part of to do that, is to have the science to be able to back up the information that you're going to wind up using for this. So there's a lot of steps in this process. Doesn't mean we should abandon it, but I just think there's an awareness that has to come with this as well too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, I agree, Barry. Another thing to add to what you said is education. And this is no different than how to handle your recyclables or opening ponds. They don't just open a pond at any tide, any time of year. They look at the moon, they look at prevailing winds and blah, blah, blah. They didn't just go, yeah, we're just going to open up Sacagawea this week, you know. It's just like the conversation about when you talk about stormwater versus they find all that stormwater going into the sewer up on by Delaney Road, and they captured it and reversed the pipes. And there's a lot of things that affect the harbor besides somebody sprinkling fertilizer on their lawn in the Mid-Island. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of questions, but I think honestly the best part of this whole sort of dynamic here is, and I know there's a lot of people that are just excited to just hurry up and do something like we did with sewering Shimo. Obviously we did that for millions of dollars, and we don't really know if that improved anything or not. We might not know for 20 years. We might not know ever, but we did it. And that was one of the main reasons we did it. So it certainly wasn't to add more buildings because they're sewered, I can tell you that. So I think that the education factor in this committee, which I know that they've been working on that, the science, the education, the application. If you read a bag of fertilizer, it tells you when to put it on. It tells you not to do it when it, when it's really wet. It tells you this. I mean, there's directions. You have to read them, and there's a lot. I'm sure that nobody really does, but there's directions. So there's going to be a lot of, I would say, a reset of 2019 and when that committee started. By the way, does anyone know when that committee was formed? Was it the same year as the regulations, 2012? I don't know if Andrew knows that or somebody. It's definitely been a while. I know that. So I think that all this sort of dust up with this situation is good in the sense of getting the committee back on track, getting the Board of Health sort of reset. Roberta wasn't here in 2012. And Jeff, and sort of kind of realign things a little bit. And I think that's a good thing. So that would be where I would be on this. getting them back into sort of a rhythm and reset of this whole issue. Anyone else have a hand up, Megan? Sorry.
That's
I'm not
okay.
gonna, if I switch my screen, I could lose somebody.
Andrew has his up, but none of the attendees.
Okay, Andrew, you want to say something, or is that the previous hand?
No, it's new, Mr. Chairman.
That middle block, it seems to always have a hand up.
I just wanted to, again, reiterate that Roberta wasn't here at the time, but Roberto's been advised by town council about what has to be done to move forward with the Board of Health regulations. And again, town administration has assigned this project to the Board of Health and to a certain extent to Natural Resources. And we have Maureen here to represent that commission. So hopefully moving forward, we'll get more information about where they are in the process. Because again, it's been years since I've seen draft regulations or even heard about it. And as Barry importantly noticed, there was some other priorities that popped up over at the Board of Health between now and 2019. So, but I think my message to the staff and to town administration has always been that we're here to fully cooperate. Nothing has changed. There's no secret anything going on here. And as Barry noted, we would have public hearings. I mean, if we proceed forward to, enact some sort of comprehensive plan regarding fertilizer, of course, we would have public hearings and take testimony. So, thank you.
And we had the sewer main, and there was a lot going on then during that time frame. Bert, did you put your hand up, or are you just?
Nope, I'm just leaning on it.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have anything before we close this discussion or come up with some way to move forward? Andrew, I'm not sure. We don't need a motion or anything like that, but I think that the general sense, is pretty much what we've all been saying. It doesn't really matter how we personally feel about the actual issue of it. It's more of the process and agreeing on that process that is in place with addition to the UMass report, or getting them involved a little bit and moving forward from there. So we good?
So
Does anyone have anything else?
Expect an item on a future agenda as soon as that work gets done.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, Andrew, stay in contact with the working group. I don't have any idea who's on that except for Mike Miserelli and Greg Wraith, I think, and that's about all I know. I don't know who else is on it. So
well, I may need to get a commissioner to volunteer to be on that group if, again, we have a lot going on here, and so we'll talk about that.
You want to do that at the next meeting? I think that would be appropriate. Okay. All right. Thank you for everyone on this, and appreciate the discussion. And Andrew, thank you for all the digging in the back to 2012. I don't know how you did that. I've lost all my emails. So the next item is the Dlta contract.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would, what we're looking for here is a vote of the commission to authorize your signature. This is $50,000, which goes to us as a regional planning agency to be used for the kind of things that are outlined. So this is funding that, again, comes to us because we're a regional planning agency, and we've put it to good use in the past. So we would just ask for a simple motion on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I read all that. It's very detailed and confusing. You just have to trust the system. So does anyone have any questions or willing to accept the motion to approve the contract acceptance?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay. Where'd my piece of paper go? I lost it. Barry,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye. Do not hear me? Aye.
John,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and who else am I missing? Maureen,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. The appointments, Andrew, the MARPA and then the bylaw committee, I just want to reiterate on the bylaw committee, Andrew, Judith, myself, and Fritz were the members, correct?
Correct. And we're just about done
And-
with that. We probably have one meeting left to get that finalized.
Okay, and I know that's why you wrote continued. I just wanted to sort of jump in on that a little bit so I don't get mixed up with anything. And Judith was one of them. So we're unfortunately, we're replacing Judith, correct, on the bylaw committee? Or
Yes.
are we resetting all three members?
No, just
What
replacing.
was the,
The idea is just to
Okay.
replace that position.
okay, so we'll go back to MARPA now. I just wanted to reiterate that, just to make sure we know what we're talking about. So the
Mr. Chair,
MARPA,
may I be excused?
yes, John, sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
so
quite all
sorry.
right.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the
Listen,
discussion. I hope
Listen,
you all
just,
stay
I
well.
consider this I consider this an honor that you've been here. When's the last time you were on a planning commission meeting, John?
Never. My first,
That's what I
but I'm
thought.
happy to help.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. You can turn the meter off now, John. Thank
It
you
is
so
off.
much.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. Getting the attention from John, that doesn't happen very often, does it? So the MARPA position, Andrew, can you just kind of give that a little explanation, if you don't
Yeah,
mind?
so the MARPA position is, would be longer. So that would be like a 3-year to fill out, at least at this point, fill out, her term for that. And the MARPA,
Yeah.
the MARPA requirements are, sometimes to attend an annual dinner. We haven't actually gone to those. They've been really canceled through COVID. There are things that are done online that Leslie's been attending, Megan's been attending with the other regional planning agencies present. So the rep might want to, listen in on that. They're educational. Judith didn't always do that. But some of the material coming out of there, I think, was interesting, for land use type people that are interested in that kind of stuff. And I know, as you remember, we have our rep, Wendy Hudson, who has served on the Rural Advisory Group that's made up of some of the regional planning agencies. So on occasion, there's opportunities for, some of the larger statewide offices that would be separately considered, but we need to have at least one policy person that represents the commission for MARPA. So.
Got it. Okay, so anyone want to step forward for this? This is it's important work, these small little groups off island and participating in this stuff, but it's not easy for everyone to do that. So Mary, how's it going, Mary? What do you think about this?
I really can't sign up for a 3-year commitment. If that's what it is, that's a bit more than I can do.
Did Judith have a partial term left, Andrew?
Well, we could fill that until our next appointment round, which is in June of 2022.
Yeah, I could do a short-term commitment.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, well, it would be a good learning experience for me, I hope, too.
I think so.
And that might help. Mary, to figure this out for later when we, sort of regroup on this. I wasn't expecting this, actually. I forgot that Judith was on that. I know she was on bylaw, but I'd forgotten this. So.
Mr. Chairman, if I can
Anybody
just
want
add,
to make a motion? Oh, go ahead, Leslie.
if I could just add, if it makes Mary feel more inclined. I've been going to MARPA for many years now, and it's not a big time commitment for the board members who are the representatives.
And how do they do? Do they do Zoom, or do you have to?
It's Zoom.
Okay.
Nat, can I make a motion to appoint Mary?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, we're kind of delayed, Matt.
Yep, I'd make a motion to appoint Mary Longacre until June to the MARPA.
I'll second that.
Okay, and Bert seconded.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Matt. Your voice wasn't going with your lips. So with that said, Mary, we'll do a roll call. Go
Aye.
ahead, Mary.
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and Matt.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, Mary, very much for that.
Thank you for your
And the
confidence.
bylaw. Oh. And the bylaw committee, Andrew, now, would this be for how long? I didn't ask you that earlier, I don't think. Sorry, you're muted, Andrew.
Sorry about that. It's
Andrew.
going to end
There you go.
quite soon because again, we have we worked on a draft bylaw for some time. It was difficult to get together to get the final
Yeah.
done. So I think it would really be 1-2 meetings tops, and then I don't, so that would be done for now. I don't think we would be proposing new bylaws in the upcoming year, but maybe, I don't know. But you could take that up when we reappoint again at our annual meeting.
Okay, so if we appoint somebody now, it's just gonna be till June, just like previous, correct? Is that what you're saying? Right, Andrew.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Didn't hear anything. Okay. Anyone want to volunteer for that? John, Dave.
Barry's got his hands up. Barry's got his hand up.
Barry's got his hand up. Okay, he's probably been on it before.
And Mr. Chairman, through you, this is why I'd like to get back on it. It's going to be short term, which is great.
Yes.
And the other thing is, you're right. I've done this before with the NP and EDC. So just for the short period of time, yeah, I would like to get back on it if people find that acceptable. Thank you.
Make a motion to appoint Barry.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was Mary, I believe. Okay, all those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Brits? Brits, you there?
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Wendy? Wendy,
Aye.
don't leave us yet, Wendy. Aye.
Said aye a few
Bert,
times. Can you hear me that time?
I got you. Maureen,
Aye.
and I heard you, Bert, before. Jack
Aye.
and Matt,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. The Capital Program Committee, Andrew, is not on this list, but I know that we may not have to do anything right now because they're not meeting. I don't believe right this minute. I could be completely wrong about that. My experience, I believe that they have turned everything over to the FinCom at the moment. Steve is, oh no, wait a minute, we're not on planning board, so Steve's not on. He would know. So I'm not sure if we need to act on this now or not.
We can
So,
continue.
that
we
would
can
be
continue
my-
to- Up to you, Mr. Chair. We could either
Yep.
appoint someone or continue it to our next agenda in February.
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest, but I didn't wanna, speak like a staff person, like I know what I'm talking about with everything. I don't, but I believe that is correct, that they are done at the moment. But maybe we could wait till next meeting. Or, or the June meeting. We can make that, I guess that decision could get made over the next few weeks. If that's appropriate. Do you think so, Andrew or Leslie? You got any ideas, or you wanna, well, what should we do with that? I know it's
Suggest you
not
could-
on there, but
Suggest you continue, well, if it's, continue, we'll put it on the next agenda.
okay. All right, great. So other committee reports? Do we have anything anyone wants
I do.
to talk about?
I have a quick one.
Go ahead, Wendy.
From the Rural Policy Advisory Commission, as you mentioned, Linda Dunleavy sent out an email on Friday that when there's hearings of interest to the rural communities, she lets us know. And there's a hearing tomorrow about unpaved roads, creating, let me see the email.
Unpaved,
House
is that what
341
you
wanted-
said?
Yeah, an act relative to unpaved roads. I wasn't sure, what our percentage of roads on Nantucket that are unpaved, or how big of an issue maintenance of them is, but they're looking to create a state
Boy,
group. Yeah, so you can sign up to talk if you want to talk about it. It's the hearing is at 2 p.m. tomorrow, I believe it is. I can forward this to anybody who knows more about it than myself. But the gist of it,
that's
it
a
would.
thorny topic.
Well, this legislation is to create a public working group to identify and evaluate safe, efficient, maintenance and improvement of unpaved roads. Importantly, the commission would include both the Secretary of Transportation and the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs. So all this legislation is doing is creating that work group. Linda always asks for feedback from our regions, and didn't know much about that one, so. You know, if it's
Boy, I
impacting.
can give you an answer to that.
I knew you
That one,
could.
you gotta leave that one alone. Leave that one alone, man, Wendy, I can tell you that. More paved roads on Nantucket is a thorny topic. So, but
Well,
yeah,
if we need
I can
more money
understand
to
why
clear, you know,
that gets brought up.
yeah, I didn't know how many public roads were unpaved and whether we needed more money to maintain them or what, but that's why I asked. That's the issue that's coming up
Ask
from
for-
RPAC right now.
Ask for more, ask for more chapter 90. There you go. Wow, that's an interesting conversation, Wendy. That goes back many years, discussing stuff like that. Is there anything else, Wendy, to add?
That's the current topic on that. We haven't met in a little while, so that's the time sensitive one.
Anything about like outdoor dining, the restrictions, keeping certain things, that type of stuff? That was a very, as far as COVID and what is, become sort of acceptable versus what wasn't done before, that type of conversation, because you were very involved in that at the beginning.
Yeah, that was that was only on the Governor's Reopening Advisory Commission. That was not the Rural Policy Advisory Commission that's related to this. That was, one thing, another group that I'm involved with is the Retailers Association in Massachusetts, and they will have something to say about the fertilizer ban for sure, because it's a conservative sided business group that does not like restrictions. So that's another one it was occurring to me to mention that I could reach out to them just on successful other towns, but then I thought maybe that's too thorny, as you mentioned. Maybe I don't want to get into it. They have a lot to say about our plastic ban, single ban, plastic use, that kind of thing. So that's another group I'm not on for this, but it is related to what we're talking about this evening. And I can mention to people, on this board or in the public that, might look into what the Retailers Association of Massachusetts is involved with and look into that. The Governor's Commission is completely, it was only related to reopening, and it's completely done. Like, we ended all that last, more than a year ago. So,
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Mary. I'm sorry. I saw the hand. I didn't realize that was a new hand. Go ahead. Sorry.
So you probably are aware that Select Board adopted the coastal resilience plan at their January 12th meeting. The plan has 40 recommendations, and now the challenge is to figure out how to get them done. So just bringing that to the committee's attention, because it would be of planning interest. It's not something that I represent the committee on, but just bringing that into the record.
Right. Andrew, you there? We definitely need to get, is that something that we should be looking at after town meeting? Commission concern articles and that sort of thing for a later agenda item to maybe look at some of that stuff, pick out some of the recommendations.
Yep.
And if I can, now if I can further clarify, so that the coastal resilience plan for the most part does not put specific policy recommendations out. It recommends that existing regulations be examined to see if they should be changed, and if so, how. So it's not making specific recommendations at this point, but it is suggesting that we do need to look at those kinds of issues.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we should, Andrew. I mean, we should, sort of look at it holistically than individually. I can't remember what each committee came out of this board or the planning board. Sometimes I forget, like Crack, Dave, you're on the Housing Trust. Is that from planning? Is that from commission? I forget. So if there's anyone else has any reports or any new business that committee reports, just bring it forward. Otherwise, we'll move on to other business. before we adjourn?
I don't, other than groundbreaking at 31 Fairgrounds, which is super exciting, I don't have a lot to say about affordable housing. But
Okay,
we're charging forward, and it's very exciting. We'll have some buildings on the property this summer. So something to show for all that hard work.
good. Sorry, I missed that the other day. I thought it was Saturday, and I wasn't on island until about 3 o'clock, so.
Donuts were good.
Anyone else have anything? Any other business anyone wants to bring up at all, or otherwise we'll see you at the next meeting on the 21st.
If no other,
Megan?
business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The meeting on the 21st, when I
Second.
wrote the agenda, I didn't realize the 21st was a holiday. So we
Oh.
can't hold a meeting. The following week is actually school vacation week, and February has been very limited in terms of what time slots are offered for evening meetings. Right now, we're looking at Tuesday, February the 8th, as a possibility at 5 p.m. So I'll send an email out in the next day or two. I know that's kind of way off schedule from what is typical, but we can all chat offline about that. I'll send an email in the next day or two.
That's not confirmed yet though, right? The 8th, or is that the only date you can get to work with the system that we have?
We're
Sorry.
trying to, and maybe Leslie or Andrew can elaborate more on this. In terms of one of the discussion items we wanted to have on the next agenda is warrant articles of planning concern. And so we're also bound by the warrant timeline, which kind of complicates that schedule even further.
Okay, got it. Yep. So you already have that stuff figured out for the next meeting, so it doesn't matter that it's only a couple weeks. Okay, I got you now. Okay. And Andrew, consider the fertilizer group. There's anything new, I think it would be worthy to get them on, or somebody, just for a quick discussion.
Sure.
Don't want to lose the momentum on that, you know? Okay. Anyone else? Otherwise, I'll accept the motion. Bert, I think you were about to do that.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is
Second,
there a second?
second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Fritz. Fritz, I just saw Fritz.
What did you do to Fritz this afternoon, Matt?
Aye.
He's in and out.
What did you
Oh,
do
there
to
he
the poor
is.
guy?
And Barry,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and Matt P.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you all. Thank you for the patience and the, discussion. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Okay, where are we going?